Edward IV is back on the throne, but his brother George is causing all sorts of problems. Now, George had been pretty disloyal, but Edward had forgiven him. He had given him a bunch of lands, he'd given him a load of status, but he still wasn't a very happy chap. He was also particularly jealous of the youngest brother, Richard. Now, to make this rivalry worse, George and Richard went and married two sisters. So George marries Isabel Neville, who was the eldest daughter of the Earl of Warwick, Richard Neville. George marries Isabel Neville, and once the Earl of Warwick is gone, George wants to be in charge of all the estates, all the stuff she's inherited. However, Richard has other ideas and he marries the other sister, Anne Neville, and he wants to be involved in the estates. This causes Edward to have to constantly be getting involved in these arguments, and in the end he divides up the estates as he sees fit, and even though George gets the biggest share, he's still feeling very entitled and grumpy. Now, when Isabel dies in 1476, a couple of things George does that really annoy the king. He tries to seek advantageous foreign marriages for his children. Edward is not having any of that. He doesn't want his brother getting any sort of military power from other countries. So he puts a stop to that. George isn't very happy. He also randomly accuses two members of his household of poisoning Isabel. He gives them a trial and he has them executed, and this annoys Edward because George is just taking it upon himself to dispense his own justice. As well as that, when two members of George's household are accused of treason, of sorcery, of plotting to kill the king, he interferes at the trial and claims that it's not been properly done. On top of all of that, allegedly, he tries to revive rumours that the legitimacy of Edward's sons isn't good enough and that they are illegitimate and shouldn't be inheriting the throne. So eventually, Edward can just no longer tolerate this insubordination from his own brother. He has him arrested and sent to the Tower. Now, when he is on trial for high treason, Edward actually presents the charges himself, showing just how fed up and betrayed he was feeling. Now, in the February of 1478, after he's been found guilty in the January, George is executed at the Tower. Now, supposedly this was in a butt of Malmsey wine. He was drowned. We don't know this for sure. However, the portrait of his daughter, Margaret Pole, does bear a barrel charm on her bracelet, supposedly as a little reference to her father. So with George out the way, everything's going to be smooth sailing now, right? See you tomorrow.